Hi, my name is Devin Wasket, and this is my cousin.
I'm Pheonixmcd.
And this is Subculture Specialties, where we're talking about little hobbies and interests that we think are absolutely amazing, and that we think that everyone else should really listen to or watch or read as well.
Yes, definitely. And today our subjects, we're going through three different genres, three different mediums. We're going through anime, manga, and video games. Mm-hmm. And our first topic is going to be Cowboy Bebop. And if you want to listen to us talk about that, then just keep watching. But if you want to listen to us talk about Goodnight Punpun, skip to 1542 into the video. And then for our Persona 5 talk, skip to 3232 in the video. Yeah. There you go.
Medium words.
All right, adjust yourself. Make sure you're ready. Oh, fuck, I'm not ready.
Just like the one rule we had. All right. Welcome to Subculture Specialty. My name is Devin Wasket, and across from me is my cousin.
My name is Pheonixmcd.
And we are here to talk about, like little sub-interests or hobbies that personally we love and we think that you will love as well, Yeah.
Today our topics are going to be anime, manga, and video games. And in those little topics, we're going to have three different series here.
Yes, and these are ones that are very close to each of us personally. So we have them written down. So the first one would be Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop.
So, where do we really begin on that? Because that one started, in the 90s, right?
Yeah, late 90s. So, first let's talk about the overall story. Like, how did Cowboy Bebop connect to you?
Honestly, I just don't know what it was. I think Spike Dudley as a character.
Yeah.
He was just such a cool person to get behind, right? Yeah. There's no real explanation for him. He was just there. He was a bounty hunter, and he was living his life in the best way that he could, Yeah,
definitely.
And, that alone is interesting, but, then there's the, interesting backstory between what he had, because there was no real motive behind anything that he was doing,
Yeah.
Obviously that gets explained later on in the story, but the fact that he's such a cool and interesting character, it's hard not to get behind it, Yeah.
Well, for me with Cowboy Bebop is I just feel like it's so connected to life and everything, even the human story. Because with Cowboy Bebop, it feels like everything important that happens in these character lives happen before the fact. We're not experiencing their most great moments in their life. It's all them dealing with everything that happened to them, and they're just moving through their life as best as they could, right?
That's so true because first off there's Spike and I can't even remember his sidekick's name. It's been so long.
There's Spike, Jet, Faye, and then Edward.
Right. And Faye is the female, right?
Yeah.
And when she gets introduced to the story, she's, like you said, at a rough point in her life. And, obviously she was interested in being a part of them, right?
Yeah.
And plus there's this whole world that they could build on, and it's really interesting what they make out of it, because again, it was during 90s anime, so I don't know what else came out during this time.
To add on to that, with Faye and everything, like I told before, that's all it all happened after their biggest points, but Faye was denied sense of past, right? She went and she was she that's all she knew, right? And even at the last episode when she was talking to Spike and she was this is all I have, I can only come back here and you're leaving, right? Yeah, it's just it's so good.
It was so fantastic.
Yeah.
And especially the little rivalry that Spike had with, what was it, Lee? Was that the dude's name?
Wait, who are you talking about?
That was his buddy that ended up betraying him.
Oh yeah. Dude, the Jupiter Jazz episodes in Cowboy Bebop are one probably my favorite episodes of all of anime.
Or even I would say the music, but even the fight scenes were so ahead of its time,
Like you watch that first episode where like Spike is fighting like that guy that's like on drugs or whatever, and like you could see like where that inspiration comes from, where people are like syncing up music with fights, right? It comes from that first fight where like he's fighting that guy and the jazz music is playing into that fight too.
No kidding, right? Yeah. And especially because it really did start like I want to say that it really kicked things up for the rest of the other animes, because I don't even know what else would be on during that time. Like maybe Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon. Those would probably be the two biggest ones. Yeah. Me personally, I couldn't tell you, but Cowboy Bebop was definitely the most memorable. Yeah, just because definitely. All of its characters were so cool and they were so out there. And again, it was like an anime that was set in space, right? Oh, dude. And that's like something that, you know, we as humans can never really get to experience. Yet the fact that they're like bounty hunters and the whole galaxy just open to them. Yeah. That part was so cool.
Yeah, dude. Like even like speaking like on like the part where you said like you don't know what else is on like during that era, right? Mm-hmm. It was like with Cowboy Bebop, like I feel like it's very like introductory like anime that you could like introduce someone to. Like it's like not like the most like niche like or any of that. Like it's like such like a good like anime to just start on. And I think that's a really good choice we made, like especially with this first podcast we're making, where it's just a very like introductory, open, like popular anime that we talk about.
For sure. And I don't know if anyone listening has ever heard the intro for Cowboy Bebop, but it is hands down one of like the coolest intros I've ever seen personally.
Dude, it's so fucking good. It reminds me of like old spy movies where like they have like the silhouette and like everything in the background, you know. All that
no
stuff.
Kidding.
Yeah. And like speaking on like kind of the opening, like say like we talk about like the music a bit for Cowboy Bebop, like one of like my favorite tracks like of Cowboy Bebop is like one of like the only two Japanese songs called Wo Kwai Non Coin, where it's playing like in like one of the later episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and it's playing in like Faye like just discovers her past, where like everything's gone, like everything's a red mint, like to her, and like Edward is also going through like this whole thing where like it's like her father and like all that stuff, and like it's just playing where like they're riding back to the Bebop, and like they have the wind blowing in their hair, and it's just like the really quiet like Japanese song. Like that's just like I absolutely love that part,
especially with Edward, because when she was introduced, it was just like a solo episode for her, and honestly the fact that she like managed to maintain that optimism throughout all of it, like honestly she would have to be definitely my most favorite character, besides Spike, of course, because he has main character plot armor, so have to cheer for him, right?
Yeah, except for like spoilers when he dies at the end, of course. Yeah.
So hopefully everyone listening just watched it. So.
Yeah, but for like speaking on Edward, like I think one of the saddest parts in Cowboy Bebop is like when like she leaves like the Bebop crew, right? Mm-hmm. Like when she like goes with Ein like on Earth and she just like starts walking. And like they have that song playing, like the like old like kind of like the acoustic like song playing, and then like it just has like those words like "See you, cowgirl, someday, somewhere," and I'm like, oh no,
there's so many feels happening during that. But at the same time, it was so cool because like she was by herself, and she got a part of the Bebop crew. She did what she had to do, and I feel like overall every single person in that crew, like whether they meant to or not, they learned to love each other, and that really helped them grow towards their own personal growth, right? And in terms of character development, the whole series was just like the whole series was just like so fantastic, because every single character, they got their moment to shine, and you really did get to understand their intentions behind it. Like even Spike's best friend, Jet was his name, right? Yeah. Like do you remember that episode where it was showing what happened to like, I don't know, I think that was his ex-wife?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. The fact that all of that is really relatively unknown up until that point is so fascinating, because you spend so much time with these people, yet there's so much more to really know and get to learn about all of them. and unfortunately you do want to know, and the series it just felt like way too short, honestly. Like what, it was 52 episodes.
It was 25.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is a lot shorter than I remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple years. I remember when first time I got my edition was at the Hobima like flea market. There was like this one vendor, the only one that interested me out of all the vendors that were selling there, and he had like volume 1 to 36 of Naruto, and then he had like 1 to 20 of Hunter x Hunter. Funny enough, that's where I started, but I'm sure we could talk about that another time. Fantastic series.
Definitely.
By the way.
Amazing, yeah.
But he was also selling Cowboy Bebop and Soul Eater, and I did know about the first 3, but it was this one that caught my attention because like anyone who's like looking at this cover, it just looks so fantastic. Like it's just everyone's so I can't even describe it. There's like so much intrigue behind it because it's like Cowboy Bebop. Even the name alone sounds weird, you know. Yeah. But all I knew was next time I was getting that summer paycheck, I had to buy it. I was not missing out on a chance to do it, and once I did buy it for the very low price of like $35, so worth it. Like I would buy it 10 times over.
Yeah, definitely.
If it meant I could experience the series for like the first time all over again, you know?
Yeah. I think sorry, like backtracking a bit, like when you're talking about like the characters and like how we get like the world and everything, like it's interesting because we have like this like super like dynamic world where like we're traveling like through worlds and like they have their own economy and like politics going on, but like it's like they choose to focus on these characters rather than like everything going on around them. Because I think that's what makes it such a good point like to it, because it's okay, like as a person, like I'm more interested in characters more than story. Like I think characters like are like the best thing ever, and like just the fact that they focus on these like 4 individuals that have their own struggles, like I just like I love it, right? Yeah. And like going back to like Jet's whole thing where like he was like going like with his wife and everything, and like the fact that he just like was able to be so like human about it too, like where like she like found another guy and he was just like, yeah, like sorry, like I've moved on, you know. Like I'm a different person than like then, right? It's just like I absolutely love it. Like absolutely love him.
And it was so amazing because again, like there wasn't really a lot said about him beforehand, but the fact that he was able to you know like let her move on to something that would have made her happier shows what kind of person that he is, you know. The fact that he would put others before himself, and then he goes back to the Bebop crew and he's like putting them above himself, and then you finally understand why he's like that, right? It was so cool. And even though he's like the bigger dude on the team, he probably could have been like that generic
like kind of like drill sergeant type guy, right?
Yeah. And the fact that he's not like he's like a big softy at heart, like that was really fantastic. Because like you say, like you said, the characters are so much more important than the story, honestly, because the characters are what draw you into the story, right?
And like taking like a note from Digibro's video, check it out by the way, where it's like he's talking about how like when Ed leaves, right, like and like it's just like Spike and like Jet are just like staring at like that message she left like on the Bebop like deck or whatever, and they're going on it, and like Jet makes all those eggs for all of them, and like there's just Spike and Jet, and they just like they eat it, and they're just like trying to drown like those feelings that they've had like for like Edward and Faye, and like the fact that they're both leaving, like it's just like too much for them, so they're just trying to eat it and just like drown it and like not think about it, right?
No kidding, especially at the beginning of the series, because it was just the two of them. They were completely fine with that, and you know Spike had his one objective was to get revenge on I think his name is Vicious, wasn't it?
Yeah, Vicious.
Yeah. So the fact that was like his one objective, and Joe was just there to help him because you know he felt like in debt to Spike.
Yeah.
And then there's like these two people that come out of nowhere. yet they have like such a huge impact on them. Like Spike ends up saving Faye, and he doesn't even know why, other than that he wants to help her, right?
Yeah.
Yet both Faye and Edward become so much more important to both these characters. It's really out of nowhere, but then the fact that they like go out of nowhere, we as an audience like don't realize how important they are until after, and that part is just fantastic of the whole series.
Yeah, I think that's just like such an important telling point too, like especially for the themes that they're going in. It's like you don't know what you have until it's gone, you know. And like I think like we go on that journey like for them, we're experiencing, and then after it like it's gone, and like like we're just left there, and we're just like, oh man, like what do I do now? Like, right?
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Especially because like correct me if I'm wrong, but at the end of like every single episode, it always says like "See you later, Space Cowboy."
Yeah,
right?
like "See you, Space Cowboy." Like, is this real life, or like just like there's a bunch of different messages.
Yeah,
right?
And I like the point that you made where when the episode was mainly focused on Edward at one point, and then it's like "See you later, Space Cowboy." Yeah. You don't realize how significant she was until that moment, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is like really, really cool because again, like I don't know how many fans there are of Cowboy Bebop, but
there's a lot.
Not enough, you know.
Yeah.
Can never have too many fans, especially for like such a classic series, you know.
Yeah. And like we're speaking on this for a while, and like just kind of like end it. Like I feel like watching Cowboy Bebop for the first time is kind of like seeing like an old friend that you know you're not going to see like after that, and it's just like you say that one goodbye and it's so bittersweet, right?
It's very difficult, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially for a series that you never expected to be as great as it was, but it was like beyond that, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so on to our next point, which would be a manga that thankfully my cousin Pheonix got me into, called Goodnight Punpun, which is just like fantastic. And I will let Pheonix start because he definitely knows a lot more about it, and he has a lot more valuable information on it, right?
All right. So for me, like Goodnight Punpun was like such. I think Goodnight Punpun is such a subjective experience, right? Where it's, I think like you'll get the best experience out of it if you bring your own like past into it too. And like when I was reading Goodnight Punpun, like I don't want to get like too like depressed, like, but like when I was reading it, it's like this is all the things I hate about myself. Like, you know, like it just connected with me on like such a deep level that I never expected any piece of media to do, right? And like, especially like, it's so like weird and out there that like it just like I think like because the fact that it's like so different, like that's why it hit me like so hard.
And the part that I really find interesting is like it takes place in a normal, well, relatively normal world, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the adults are acting very weird, like the teacher that's first introducing Punpun, he's like, he has these sort of crazy gestures that he's throwing around, showing that he might not all be there, but at the same time everyone reacts to it normally, right? Because they're just used to that being the way it is. But the fact that like all 7 of these books is just like going through Punpun's life, and again him making the absolute best of it that he could, was like so like depressingly refreshing. I guess would be the right word to use it, because he's again he's like trying the absolute best that he can, but like just keeps throwing these like different things at him, and it really says a lot about his character that he's absolutely, you know, trying to do everything that he can around him. But there's like all these things that are reminding him, you know, you'll never be more than this. You can't do this. Otherwise it like drags him down. And it really is sad to see, because I feel like in a way every single one of us has like a little bit of Punpun's characteristics in us, you know? And honestly, it's just like one of those tough talks we would need to have with ourselves, whether we realize it or not, right? Yeah. So, do you have like a favorite manga out of all these 7 in particular?
All of the 7 in particular?
Yeah.
I guess it would probably be the last one, because I feel like that probably felt the most real to me. Like I feel like all of it was like super like real, and like even like when you're saying how the adults are like when they're young, like they're portrayed as like super like weird beings, right?
Yeah.
But as like when I was reading it, I was like, this is just a reflection of like everybody's like inner thoughts, like you know, like I felt like it was just like they were just like putting it out there, right? And like I was thinking that maybe like not all of that was like what they're actually saying, and that's why they're perceiving it as so real.
Yeah.
You know, even like with like the way like Ineo Asano like draws faces and like people, like they're all like so ugly and like yeah, and you just like and you look at it, it's like that's reality. Like not everybody's gonna be like super good looking, and like just like he like takes the time to like draw little details, and like even he has like the little like just kind of like simple Punpun like portrayed against like this really like just beautiful background, and like it just like it really helps you like just put yourself into the story, you know. And like with the 7th book, like spoiler, like we're going into deep spoiler territory like here,
deep spoilers, so deep spoiler. Skip ahead if you want to like avoid it, because honestly you really should read the entire series for yourself, and it'll take a while to get through all of it, but really like it's not that much time.
It's worth it. But so like going back to it, like when like Aiko like kills herself, right? Like I was just like, and like afterwards when like Punpun is caught and he like spends like a year in jail, and like he's just saying like it's like I don't remember her face anymore, like it's getting harder to like hear her voice and everything. I was just like, man, that's so like real. Like I just feel that even like when when my dad passed away, like I don't remember anything about him now. Like all I could remember him is stories, you know, because when I try to think about his face, like he's just not there, you know. And that's why it connected to me like on such a personal level, you know,
especially with Aiko, because she was such an important part to Punpun's happiness, right? Yeah. Like he believed that if he was with her, then he would get like that happiness that he achieved. Yet once he finally was with her in like the 6th volume, it wasn't what he thought that it would be. Like it was just like when they were kids, he was still sad when he was, you know, with her then, and they're still sad together as adults. So obviously that situation's not going to change, but the fact that he believes that Aiko's his one chance at happiness when she's bringing him so much like pain and internal struggle, like it's really, really sad. Like you can't help but to sympathize with Punpun on that. Yeah,
and like on that note, like Punpun like thought that like Aiko was like his salvation, right? But like in a way, like they both thought that their trip to like Kagoshima was like a way where they're just escape. They're away from the world, right? And they're just like free to do whatever. And like I think like in like I think it was the 6th book maybe, where like they finally get to Kagoshima, and like Punpun spends like all that time like as this really like dark like figure that's just like gone, and then like they're at that beach, and then Aiko looks back, and then Punpun's like his back to himself, and like they go and they hug like in the water. Like I think that moment was just like it gives me goosebumps like just thinking it's because it's just like I was crying at that moment, because I was just like that's so good. Like it's just like all that is worth that one payoff there, right? Because it's just like you spend all this time like looking at like this character Punpun you could relate to like on like such a deep level, right? And then like he goes into like these depths, like these really like dark like places, and then like he comes back, and like you get this one beautiful moment like surrounded by all this darkness, and I think that's what makes it so good.
You know, I find it interesting that you would say that he was a dark figure that most time, because I've actually never noticed that until now. Which is it says a lot about like his inner side, because when he started out as like a young person in the first one, obviously like there's this whole issues where his dad goes away because his mom was like acting way too crazy, and he has a dad that's like never there for him, and everyone else around him, obviously they're like living their own lives, but it's really sad to see that Punpun almost desperately needs help, yet the only people who could be there for him are so wrapped up in like their own minds and their own selfish interests that they can't see it, right? And really that's when he starts clinging to Aiko at such a young age. But you told me this before, but there's like a huge symbolization with Punpun If you'd like to explain that to the audience.
Oh, like with like his character and like his form and everything.
Yeah.
Well, like, the thing about like Punpun's like form is like he definitely like wears like his heart on his sleeve. Like with like he has like his regular form there, but like as he goes through the story, like he changes, he like adapts and everything. Like even like when he's spending his life when he got like just out of high school, like when he's just like getting a job and like not doing anything, like he's like a pyramid, a triangle, and you know why that is?
Why?
Because that's the most basic shape out of all the shapes. He's just getting by. He's just living. He's not doing anything more than that, right? And when he disguises himself as his neighbor, like he's like this really like weird like unrecognizable form. Like when he's looking at himself in the mirror, he's like, is that how I look like? Like is that me? Like, you know?
Yeah.
And then like he goes through this whole thing where like he starts off like as himself, then he goes and he evolves, and then finally he ends up as himself, right?
Yeah.
And what was I saying? So what Inaya Asano talked about how he wanted to make Punpun as relatable as possible, to make like when he killed Aiko's mother, like so shocking and like so like disturbing and everything, is because he wanted like that to happen, right? And that's when he like grew like the horns too. And like so like there's even like some stuff based in like the Summer Triangle and like Japanese mythology where it's like you get like the Orihime and Hiraboshi and all that shit, because like Hiraboshi is like the cow herd star, so that's why he grows that horns, because he's a cow, and like they're symbolizing like that like sort of thing, right?
Interesting. Huh. I gotta say it shows like a lot of interesting character development, because like looking back at these, I don't even know when he starts to lose himself, because obviously there's like these different mini stories with his friends going on, right? Like it's showing what Aiko was going through, and it showed. Did it show who she was with?
No, they didn't show anything. Yeah, because like she was a virgin before like Punpun, right?
Right.
Yeah, you could tell because like when like they did it, like they had sex, right? Like she was bleeding, right?
Yeah.
And like going back on like that thing where like you can tell where he loses himself. Maybe that's like such like a thing like on like just like our lives in general. It's like they go through like we go through our lives and we're just living our lives, and like I don't know about you, but I've had points where I'm just like, who am I? Like, what am I even doing? Like, you know, like just like I feel like I'm just like not who like I used to be, right? So like maybe that's just like such like a deep point, like where it's just reflecting like everybody's lives, right?
That's so true, because like every single day, like Punpun, he's just living his life, but there's like slowly he's getting into like a more depressive state. And honestly, that could be said for really like anyone, really. And the fact that he has like only one hope, whereas like some people who happier have like you know more than that, right? It's just so hard to think about, because almost everything in his life is being taken away, and you know, in a way, we could all end up like Punpun, you know? Yeah. Like we're slipping into that state more and more, and we wouldn't even realize it until it's too late, right? Yeah. Because like you know, like we as humans like to think we're more civilized, you know, than like animals and all that. Yeah. But at the same time, if those same rules, laws, and structures that exist in like human hierarchy were taken away, then we could still go into that animalistic place ourselves, like that dark side that we wouldn't even recognize. Yeah, like we're so like fragile, just like as people, you know. And like for Punpun's breaking point, like it was like Aiko, right? And that's what like sent him tumbling down, right? Yeah. And like speaking like to your point, where like he's like just like it's such a depressive character, where it's like Punpun, like he's a guy that like he doesn't have anything go his way, like nothing ever goes his way. When he wants something, he doesn't get it. When he tries to do something, it doesn't happen. And, like even like in the last book, like when like Aiko's gone and like his eyes like gouged out, and he goes to like that school roof where like the stars like felt so close and they're so beautiful, and he lied there and he's like, this is where I'm gonna die, and he says goodnight. Yeah. But then Sachi, she comes back and she wakes him up. He's denied that one last final thing of peace, the one thing that he wanted, like in all his life. Yeah. Which is pretty sad too, because like even like the author Inio Asano, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, but like he inserts his face into the stories that several times. Like he is the creator of the manga, and he's like drawing his actual face into the manga pictures. It like shows him overwatching all of Punpun's like, I guess, high or low points in his life, and it's just like his creator watching over him. And even though he has like a manga, as the like manga artist, couldn't change something about Punpun's life, he's like overwatching all the sadness, and it's really, really sad to think about, honestly. But at the same time, it's like in my opinion, it's like a sadness that could probably easily happen to anyone. And you know, in Punpun's case, he didn't have anyone there for him. Yeah. But it's nice, you know, in our lives as humans, where there are people that we can talk to and, you know, like share the same common interests, hobbies with, start a podcast with. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah. So like on like one last point to end off on this Goodnight Punpun discussion, like what do you think God symbolized like in the Goodnight Punpun series?
Honestly, I'm not sure, because there was like there was a couple of mini storylines. Again, there's that one where that guy, he was like trying to run for mayor, and what was it, like he and that other kid, they could see like the poop god or whatever.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I don't know what that was supposed to represent, because it doesn't feel like there's a god overwatching this, even though Inyo Asano, again, hopefully I'm not butchering the dude's name, is overwatching the whole series. Yeah. So the fact that there was like just a god watching over all of it, and isn't, it's really, it could be a really good representation of the current life that we have, and even though they're like watching and could change something, they don't, and it's really sad to think about, honestly.
So like in like your opinion, you think like God in Goodnight Punpun are just like this removed like sort of beings that like don't really help like our world or anything?
For sure, like more as overseers than anything. Because again, they're not like it. They're not going out of their way to change anything, which honestly I think is better. Because like the fact that they're like spectating, and again, Punpun's like so helpless. And he tries to help himself. Like, it's really sad to think about, but at the same time, that's just how life is sometimes, for some people, right? What about you? What do you think?
Well, like just looking at like in terms of like Punpun's like case where like he was looking at God, I think this might be like a sort of like an obvious like takeaway from this, but like I think like God like symbolizes like a sort of like just like that like natural evil that we have as human beings, right? Because like Punpun like does it, and like he like, and like God is like saying all this like bad shit, and like throughout his whole life. And then even like when he goes into like those really deep dark depths, like that one panel, like he's using the bathroom and he looks in the mirror, and like is this God looking back at him, and like I was just thinking like wow. And then like even like when Sachi and like no, not Sachi, like Punpun's uncle and like that girl like go and like they like make a baby, like in like that baby's eyes, like is the face of God that Punpun sees. I was like, maybe that's like that natural evil that like that's in all of us, right? Yeah,
no kidding. Especially because the baby is supposed to represent like the purest form of innocence, right?
Yeah. It's a crazy thing to think about. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of elements in like Goodnight Punpun.
No kidding, right? Yeah. Anyways, so that's the end of our manga discussion. Again, Goodnight Punpun, fantastic series. Highly recommend it. Anyways, and now for video games. So, Phoenix, you want to give like a little intro here?
Okay. So, we're talking about the Phantom Thieves of Hearts.
You gotta be real careful when you're naming them.
Yeah, the Phantom Thieves of Hearts. The guys who steal treasures, take down bad guys, send calling cards. You know them. You love them. Persona 5 crew.
Oh, that's what we're so fantastic. And in my opinion, like, even for, I'm pretty sure this is like Atlus's most popular like sold game as well. Yeah. Still so hugely underrated. Like the last two we've talked about before. Like I saw this one meme where it's like it just showed like this tiny little guy, and it's like me trying to romance a teacher, and then it shows like around the court or coming around the corner, it's like this huge beast that's like and being hit by an emotionally great story. Because you can romance your teacher, but I mean that's like a real small part of the game, right?
Yeah. Okay. So to start off somewhere, like overall in the video game, like what was your take on it?
Okay, so something that I really love, like personally, when like buying video games, is I'll be in like EB Games or something or Walmart, and I'll like look at the game reviews. And the thing, or some of them even have like the little like Metacritic or Game Informer stickers saying, "Hey, this one's really good. You should give it a try." Yeah. I remember like Persona 5 was the only one that had like a Metacritic sticker on the entire store. And then I looked it up, and it's like, oh, 94%. That's awesome. So, I figured I'd give it a try. This is when it was still 2017. It came out in February. And, like my first impression was the story, like it's interesting, but it's like, it's going through everything so slowly, like to explain the story. And I didn't realize that was like the format that came, like maybe in the last couple of games, right?
Yeah.
But once you get past like that first 5 or 10 hours, like this is the most amazing game, honestly.
It's
like
so good.
Good. From everything, like honestly, I love the music. I've been obsessed with the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah, like I've been playing it nonstop at work. So honestly, out of everything I could have picked, the music is the absolute favorite part for me. How about you, Pheonix?
My favorite part of Persona 5, definitely the confidants. Definitely. Like going through like relationships and working on them and like doing all that stuff. Like I love that shit. Like because I told you I love characters. Right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm a huge Persona fan. I love Persona. I played like 300, 400 hours of Persona. Like I played 3, 4. I have Golden, and I'm going through that. I played through Persona 5. That was my first one.
Yeah.
So instead of talking about how much I love Persona, instead I'm going to talk about some bad parts of Persona 5. Okay. So I think one of the bad parts about Persona 5 is the steady drop in quality that like when you like going through the game. So like you start off and you get the Kamoshida Palace, which is like so fucking good. It's such a good palace. And like the thing is like you could see like the changes you make like throughout the game and how they affect the people close to you, like the school. And like even like you get like Kamoshida walks through the school, like, and he's like such as like tower menacing, like sort of figure that like he feels like a real threat. But like as you progress through the story, like that threat sort of like gets more distanced from you, right? Yeah. Because you're taking out like all these bigger guys and bigger guys and bigger guys. You can't really like see like the real effects of like those like of their actions. Because even with Kamoshida, like when he's going through it and it's not explicitly said, but it's implied that he raped like Ann's friend, right? Yeah. And like she tries to kill herself. Like even with that, like you could see like those effects throughout the game, but like with the other palaces, you don't really get that, right?
That's so true because like with Kamoshida, you're able to, talk to him in the school when you're not in the metaverse. Yeah. And, he's like doing all these threats against you. Really like a way no teacher should ever like talk to a student, right? Yeah. Whereas like the next couple palaces, you can't really like talk to the threat of the person that you're going after, right? Right. So anyways, very interesting point. Continue.
All right. Like even like some suggestions that they could have done is like even just have like a figure like instead of like in the school, like say like they're in like the, I can't remember the fucking names of the place, like they're in the underground mall, they're in like the like those street yards or whatever. They even like with like that guy who's like the mafia boss, like he's in like the back streets, like just kind of chilling out, right? like like that would have been cool. Like just have that sort of like other like level like just outside of like their palace, right? Yeah, because like after like the Kamoshida Palace, there's like a definite like the difference between like the Phantom Thieves and your friend group, right? Yeah. Like there's like it gets harder and harder to bridge a connection between them, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But the part that was like really fantastic is how like each of the confidants like awakening their personas is like related to the current palace that you're going through. Oh yeah. Right. So like Kamoshida's, there was, as you can see on there, like people like listening can't see, but we got like Ryuji and An, obviously Yusuke, Mikoto, Haru, Futaba, Morgana, and of course our main hero of the hour, I believe his official canon name is Ren, right?
Yeah, Renakir or something.
Yeah. So like, obviously in the first palace you get to know Ryuji, which would be Kanji 2.0, Takamaki, which is really the girl you're only dating just to spite Morgana. Let's be honest here. And then there's Morgana, yeah, who is just, oh my god, like I want to like this dude so much.
But you can't.
Yeah, like when he tells me to go to bed for like
fuck you.
Yeah.
Why should I listen to you, fucking cat piece of shit?
It's like, you're a cat. Why don't you go eat your temptations or something?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like hang out with Chihaha or something, or Chiya. I still to this day.
Chiha.
Chiya. So obviously I'm not good at pronouncing the confidant states, but again, like the fact that each palace, you know, it's like connected to each of these characters that you meet along the way.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So fantastic. Plus there's like the whole discussion of like best girl versus worst girl. Let's just get this out of the way. Worst girl, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think everybody agrees with that. But like speaking back to like your like whole thing about like how like each palace is really related to like their persona that they gain. Like I feel like in a way like the palace that they're going through is like kind of like the antithesis of like their whole character. Where it's like with Yusuke, like he's like fighting his own master. Like he's an artist. He likes to be like original and everything, but his master is like a con.
Yeah.
And like he steals like all of that stuff, and that's like the opposite of him. Same with like Makoto, where like she's all about that sense of justice. Like it's like the mob and all that shit. Like it's just they're opposites, right?
Yeah, no kidding. And honestly, I can't tell whose awakening was better out of like say those two, because those two were definitely my favorites. Yeah. Like again, there's Yusuke. He's breaking free and he's unleashing his persona, Goemon on the inside, for his sense of art style, right? Yeah. And he believes that there's like I don't know, he's kind of like a weird character in the way that he talks and everything, but honestly I love it. Like just the way he describes everything. Like you go to hang out with him and it's like you choose, I came here to hang out with you, and he's like, you must have a wealth of free decision if that's your choice. And it's like, who talks like that? But fuck yeah, I'll hang out with you. And then there's Makoto, the way she awakened her, because like again, everyone's like being so, they're being a little bit much to her, to be honest.
Yeah. Like everyone's like, then Makoto's like, hi, and she's like, you fucking bitch. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's like that's how her sister just greets her, you know?
Yeah.
Like her older sister's sigh, but
it's like I wish you weren't around here, like all that shit. And it's like, whoa, just like chill the fuck out.
No kidding, like student council president, she's done literally nothing to hurt you. She's been like focused on her own grades for like the past 3 years of her own life, right?
Yeah.
Like, damn, you don't know what she's got going on in her life. But yeah, even like the relationship, some that I really loved is how Sai gets like slowly introduced into the game. And obviously she's like a more important character in the beginning when you're captured, but then you see how she starts to really go into the story is just so fantastic, because again, first 5 to 10 hours of this game, so slow, but next thing you know, 100 hours of your life is gone, and you don't even understand how. You just know that like the art style of this game is amazing, the music is amazing, getting to know all the characters and their backstory is amazing. Like I could write a book about how I spent so much time in this world and I don't even understand how. But like okay, so is that all the worst things that you got out of the way, like personally?
Worst things personally? Yeah, I think you already covered it. Like it's really slow at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really like hard for newcomers, like especially when like they're trying to get into the series.
Yeah.
And it's because it's like super like slow dialogue, you know, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And like what else would be bad about Persona 5 specifically?
Underrated.
Underrated.
Because like again, like 94% rating on Metacritic, and I was watching the video game awards for that year, and the top 5 candidates for game of the year were What was it? Horizon Zero Dawn, an amazing game.
Super good.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild, which is amazing. Got a part 2 coming out, thankfully.
Never played it.
Super Mario Odyssey, which I'll be honest, I'm not that big of a Mario fan, but still gotta give respect to how much time and effort went into a game like that.
Good movement, yeah, very good.
And then Persona 5, which again, I've been trying to preach to like everyone I know who's got a PlayStation. You should play this game. I promise you, you will not regret playing this game. And to this day, like the people who have picked it up say they love it and they can't get enough of it, right? And I'm like so envious of them that they're getting to experience it for like the first time,
Yeah, dude, like you should play the other Persona games because there's a really big debates on like what Persona game is the best one. And it's mostly between Persona 4 and Persona 5, but I'm gonna kind of be controversial here. Persona 3 is my favorite one. Yeah. but yeah.
I actually saw this like meme the other day, which is like it shows the Persona. It shows Ren. He has his mask ripped off, and obviously the blood's dripping from his face. And it's saying like I'm ripping my mask off to represent taking the chains of society off me and unleashing my true self. And then it shows the Persona 3 hero, which is what was his name?
Like I think it's the same thing, like Akira or something.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm shooting myself in the head, which is how they fight in that one.
To symbolize accepting death and everything. Yeah.
And then it shows the Persona 4 hero.
And he's like, I break a car.
And then it's like Ren and Akira, they're like both saying, what's wrong with you? That's not edgy enough. But
dude, fucking like Yu Narukami, the Persona 4 protagonist, he's such a fucking Chad. He just comes here, like takes all your girls and everything. He comes to your small town, solves a murder, takes all the girls. He doesn't give a fuck. He's fine.
He's only here for the year anyways. But yeah, so like the whole Persona series is just like heavy with symbolism, and like honestly I'm not the expert here. That would have to be Pheonix, because like he actually went out of his way to get the consoles specifically to play them, and I gotta give like huge respect to that, because like I'm just doing my third playthrough of Persona 5 and I'm like, hopefully I can get all the confidants ranked up with this playthrough.
You didn't do it in the second one?
Well, okay, so like what happened here is so like I got the game in 2017, and I was dating this girl at the time who I will not mention in case one of my viewers like goes to throw an egg at her house, but if anyone wants to let me know. Just kidding. No, but we were together. We bought the PS4 together, but she spent most of the money on it, so when we broke up she got to keep it. I unfortunately had to get myself a new one, a new TV, and a new Persona 5.
That's the most heartbreaking.
Yeah, so that was a pretty that was not good for my wallet, but it was worth it in the end. So yeah, that was my first playthrough. It was gone. So I had to do the second playthrough again on my new PS4, and now I'm doing the second playthrough for my PS4, which counts as like my third playthrough overall. But honestly, I don't mind, because I mean, like Persona 5 the Royale is coming out in 2020, unless Atlas I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Dude, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Dude, did you see the new Ryuji trailer?
Oh yeah, that was so great. Like him and Yusuke.
Yeah, they're like shooting like the noodle and everything. Yeah, dude. And
Ryuji's like, I'm just trying to eat here, man. Yeah. Like, to anyone who's seen the new Persona 5 the Royale trailers, honestly, it looks like there's gonna be like new team attacks, and those are like fantastic. Like,
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to put
did you see that part where it's like Ryuji's like original Persona and like the new one, and
when
they're
they
mixed?
Like mixed, that was
they
so
got the new
cool.
dude. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Oh, it's probably, I imagine it'll be the other with the other components as well. But on a completely related side note, which I found like fantastic, I was watching videos for all out attacks that they were doing, and some that I really noticed is like the person who like downs them, like
starts it off.
Yeah, like they'll be the first one to jump off and then do the all-out attack. And of course, there's like the different art styles where it show like the different like face animations. Like those ones are so cool, honestly. Yeah. And they all have like their unique dialogue. I mean, like if you down them as Makoto, hers is like fists of justice.
Yeah, like justices.
Yeah. And if you do it like as Yusuke, his is like, come now, let us strike. Like he sounds so badass in that moment.
What's your like favorite like kind of like end card, like where it's like they finished like the all-out attack and like their person is killed? Like what's your favorite one of that?
Ooh, that.
Because I know mine.
So I find it pretty funny how like Ryuji somehow without fail he always lands on his face like every single time. But it would have to be a real tough one between Joker's, because like obviously he has like the hand glove and there's like a star in the background with like a little hole through it. Yeah. Whereas when huge spoiler alert, so I'm just gonna give it like a quick 5 seconds. Yeah. And then my other favorite one would have to be when Goro Akechi is doing his, and he just has like so much style in it, but in the background there's like a perfect star. Again, no hole through it because again he upholds his strong sense of justice, and he has just so much style doing it. It is fucking Pancake Boy is fucking fantastic. What about yours? Noticed that.
But my favorite one is definitely Haru's. I love Haru's, where like she goes and like she sits down, she has a cup of tea, and she looks up, it's like adieu, and it's like, oh dude, it's so good.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's a shame how she got introduced though, because like
with Morgana and everything.
Oh my god, I can't stand this fucking cat, dude. Which is weird, because like I own a pet cat, like Luna, after Luna Lovegood, obviously. Completely unrelated side note, but when I first got my cat, my sister got to name the first one, which was so she wanted to name it Grazer, which I thought was a perfectly fine name, but I called him Atlas behind her back because I thought that was like a cooler name, honestly. But she wanted to name Luna Booster, and I'm like, why would you name it that? That's like the ugliest fucking name I've ever heard. And she's like, because I boost. And I'm like, I don't want to name my cat after your stupid hobby, okay? But yeah, obviously Luna, because Luna Lovegood. I love Harry Potter, but yes. So like again, I love cats, but Morgana like actually to no end pisses me off.
Yeah. I keep calling Morgana a she, but he's like such a pain in the ass.
No kidding, like he's such a piece of shit to Ryuji the entire game. Like every single chance that Skull gets a chance to do something, Morgana will not fail to insult him if he messes up. Yeah. Like without fail, he will insult him every single time. And like the one time Ryuji's like, you're useless, all of a sudden Morgana's just like in tears and like, no, I'm not. I'm useful. I turn into a car. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. But yeah, anyways, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, again, even though Persona 5 is like Atlas's most sold game in like what 20-30 years, still hugely underrated, and the fact that it's like getting as much recognition as it is, honestly, that makes me really happy, because again, it's like a great series. It has Persona 5 the Royale coming out, and maybe when my grandchildren are born, we can play Persona 6 together. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. If it's not delayed.
For another, like, 5 years. But, again, Persona 5 is such an amazing game. I honest to God think that everyone should play it. But that's just my closing remarks. How about you?
Shit, dude. Fuck. Put me on the spot here. No, fuck. Persona 5. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I got nothing. I think you said it all. I think, like, Persona 5, like, I think everybody should play it. It's, like, especially, like, I think, like, they're really honed down the gameplay in that compared to the other ones. Mm-hmm. Especially fucking Persona 3. Oh, my God. Yeah. They did so bad in Persona 3 with the gameplay. Still my favorite, but, like, oh, shit, I bumped the table. But, like, Persona 4, like, they have, like, some faults in that, which they fix in Persona 5. Like, I think Persona 5 is such an amazing starting point to get into the series. Mm-hmm. I just think everybody should play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways.
All right. So that was our first Subculture Specialty podcast. Hope you enjoyed it, I have to say.
Yeah. If you have any suggestions or anything, like for like what topics we should cover in the future. By the way, I have like a bunch. I thought of a bunch of ideas right now. But like, yeah, like just like hit us up, comment, subscribe, like, share. But yeah.
Right. And if you made it this far, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed this talk as much as we did.
Yeah, dude. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, bye.
Bye.